then like it's the struggle that is important, like that there's where the drama lies. I went to Lagos, but straight from Lagos I went to the next airport and we went to Jos. You need to be prepared for more things that they don't turn out the way you want.
If you want to shoot in Nigeria, use Nigerian people for the key positions. Don't import someone from South Africa. Don't get someone from Europe, because you will get something different.
There's something that makes you a DOP, which if you don't know it, you're not a DOP.
Hey, welcome to Bold with Joe, the podcast. It's time to forge a bold future. And my guest today is Peter Kreil.
From fiction to fashion, dance films to feature movies, Peter is a master of magical realism, with a passion for light, texture, and storytelling. His work spans countries including Nigeria, where Amina on Netflix became an AMVCA-winning hit. A cinematographer at heart, Peter's journey from Austria to Barcelona to the world is nothing short of cinematic.
Hey, Pete, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
We're going to dive into one question that I've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference between a director of photography and a cinematographer?
Well, basically there is no difference. It's just it's the same thing. There's no differentiation from one word and the other. It's the same thing.
Okay. I have worked with some cinematographers that only want to be called cinematographers.
Yeah, but the idea, to be honest, I don't. For me, it's the same thing. Some people they call you DP. I think it depends from the area where they are from. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's really no difference. Some might say, well, cinematographer there's maybe more narrative work to it. The DOP is more old school. I don't know.
Are you old school? Because on your site you're like director of photography.
If that's the most common say, like people from the UK. Well, it depends. UK also have cinematographer sometimes. But there's really no difference. I mean,
there's no difference. Yeah.
At least I don't know the difference.
Okay. And so when did this all start? Like you decided, when was that moment that you knew you wanted to be a DOP, a director of photography, that you knew that the camera is the way I'm going to tell stories? You know, as young people, sometimes you're even older people, you're not really sure about what you want to do. So when was it for you, and what led to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to discover, you know. So I think it was the same with me. I mean, I was experimental when I was small with films, with friends. We shot some Star Wars like films. So it was fun. But I mean, to be honest, like I'm not sure if there's a decision that you make or there's the environment that makes a decision for you, you know. Because once I worked in the film industry as a material assistant, like a second assistant camera, and then I grew into the industry, and then you think about what you want to do in the industry, you know. So I think it's more like a process that you discover if you want to dedicate your life to cinema, you think what you like to do there, I think.
Yeah.
And there also needs to be a decision also from the environment, because sometimes you choose one thing, but the industry doesn't call you for, you know.
Well, what do you mean from the environment? You mean growing up or the industry?
The industry. I mean, you can always say, like, I'm a cinematographer, but if nobody calls you and you don't get work, so what you're doing the cinematography on, you know?
So that means as a cinematographer, you also have to build a kind of business, like build your demand.
Well, I think it really depends. I mean, I can't just talk from my case. I mean, there's people that do commercials, they specialize in commercials, they do film, they do series. There's not such a thing that like one cinematographer is like, the work is quite, I mean, it's the same or similar, but like you specialize, you know?
Okay.
It's not that one cinematographer you can do it all. I mean, you can, but like there's always a lot of separation of if you do commercials or you do narrative work.
Yeah.
So that's like, I mean, you can choose, you can always choose, but you also need to get the calls and you need to succeed, you know? So it's also like a thing that you need to decide, have a clear idea what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can achieve it, or it does work or it doesn't work. So like, yeah, there's a bit of luck involved too. So you need to be at the right moment with the right people, I think. So
Okay, but you have to be ready, even if you're at the in the right moment with the right people, and your
yeah.
new skills are not suitable for the
Mm,
job. Do you
mm.
get the job because of luck?
I mean, like there's schools to it, there's a ways to learn it, you know. But when you need to be ready. It's true. But like, there's no right or wrong. I mean, there's no like school of life can bring you also like Christopher Doyle. I'm not sure if he went to film school, but like he's really like, you know, you can't just be cinematographer. You can just learn it, but you don't need to be in a school for that. So
So a bit of talent, like
yeah,
a bit of talent. So take me back to Star Wars. Take me back.
yeah.
Tell me, because we have sometimes we have these experiences as children, as young people.
Mm,
I remember when I was, I don't know, 11 or so, I started, my dad had the birthday party.
mhm,
And I wanted to do something special for him. So he was able to get like a camera, this big camera where you put the VHS cassette in it.
mhm,
And so he brought hired the person, and they were just filming. So I was like, no, not like that. Wait, let me moderate it. Let me show you, you know. So I started organizing the whole party in front of the camera, like taking the camera person through, directing the
mhm,
camera person through. But this was just for my father's birthday. And that was an experience, one of. And
mhm,
today, when I look at the things I'm doing,
mhm,
somehow I could be like, that 11 years old girl had a vision.
mhm.
So tell me about your Star Wars.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if it was a vision. It was a different story with me, I think.
Yeah.
Because I really like yeah, in my journey I was like traveling a lot also, you know, when I was older. And like, yeah, the decision of camera, I mean, it was always a visual person. And I mean, when I was smaller with friends, we just got the camera from my father, and we didn't just shoot home movies. We wanted to do like fiction, you know. So we did all kind of things. Yeah, imitate Star Wars special effects, you know, like doing the whole like to make stars, you know. So you have
Yeah.
light, put holes into like, yeah. We were just children, you know. So we like to experiment and to just, yeah, experiment life. Yeah,
And you enjoyed it, right?
yeah, I did. But I mean, I was really young, so like it really came back for me later. It was not like a call that I said, "Wow, this is
Yeah.
like what I need to do." It was, yeah, just experimenting.
When
So
did it come back?
later, I mean, really, I was traveling. I did a lot of things before I went into cinematography. I worked as a camera assistant at the beginning, and then I realized I want to do cinematography. You know, so
Do
it was.
you learn, like as a camera assistant, is that an opportunity to learn from the cinematographer that you're working with?
Always. I mean, it's always, you can always learn if you put effort in it, you know, and you like it, what you do. But it depends on the mentors and the people that you meet on the way. There's no right, there's no wrong. I think it's really to have a clear idea and what you want, and then go for it. That's what I feel. I mean, there is no like, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
you
no,
keep saying have a clear idea of what you want. And
hmm,
in this conversation, you've used that phrase a lot.
hmm,
And I'm thinking, for sometimes you might not even have a clear idea of what you want. You don't know what you want. You're still searching, right?
hmm.
So how do you know that this is what you want? How is it for you? How were you certain that this is what you want? How was your search personally? How did you know this is what I want? Is it a feeling? Is it like you try out so many things, or is it like people say that, oh, your work is good? Or do you, when you start with the camera, do you feel a kind of how would I put it, oneness with the process, and you enjoy it so much that, so what makes you really feel and know this is what I want?
Well, I think it's a kind of gut feeling. I mean, how do you know if you if you like something? It's like when you kind of feel like butterflies, you know, like in so it was like, yeah, it was a bit like this for me. Like it just feels easy, you know, it just feels natural. So that's what I feel when I'm behind camera. I don't like, you don't think when you have, or when you have the camera in your hands and you start framing it, don't just frame, it just like goes by itself, you know, you don't need to do anything basically.
Do you necessarily, as a DOP, do you necessarily need to know like all the technicalities of a specific camera? Or, for example, there are some, like in Nigeria, for example, there are camera rentals and there are DOPs, and some of the DOPs do not own a camera and equipment, right? They do not own lights, they do not own all this equipment, so they do not have the time to train with it. Like if you have your own camera, you sleep with it, you have enough time to play around with it and know how to use it, and in your spare time. So most of them have to rent the camera, and maybe they've not even used, like, I don't know, an SF6 for the last 3 months, and now they have to rent it for a show, for a film, so they have to start getting used to it. So how do you see this process happening, and is it very necessary that you really need to sleep with your camera?
I mean, it depends. There's like also different approach. I mean, you need to know the what you're going to do. If you want to shoot a film or a movie or any short film, you need to know your camera. You need to know why you choose which lens. You know, I mean, there's something that makes you a DOP, which if you don't know it, you're not a DOP. You know, so the thing is, how you get into DOPing is like, well, collaborating. You start collaborating, and it's like the process of like, well, start to shoot short films. Like you can know the technical things of cameras, but like what you need to know is the f-stop, how light works, how the camera works, how the lens works, you know.
Yeah.
And this you just need to train. I mean, yeah. Nowadays it's easier than it was in the old days. In the old days, if you want to shoot like a feature film, it's like not, you don't just start like this, you know.
Let's talk about manipulation with the lens and the camera, because there are many techniques, and well, many people say that you can actually use the camera to tell a different story from what is even in the script or what's intended. Or, for example, you go on a high angle to intimidate the character, or you go from a low angle to show more power. There is even a film, I can't remember the name, that came out, I think 2 years ago or something, talking about how the masculinity in the industry, when it comes to cinematography, tells the story from a male perspective, you know, instead of also balancing the gender of the story and such things. So how's your take on this? Can we really manipulate the stories, and how do you manipulate stories?
Yeah, that's like, I mean, that's also a big and great part of the cinematography, but it's like about collaborating, I think, because it's like, it's a pair of eye, you know. So your camera is your pair of eye, which you give to the viewer. So that you choose his perspective, how he sees the story. So also like when you shoot the documentary, you focus on what sees the viewer, you know. So that's like how it's an important, yeah, how to choose the angle, like what lens you use. For me, it's more like decisions, like if you read the story, you have a certain story and you need to be close to the character because it's an intimate story, you know, or the character is like a lonely, so it needs to be, or it can be a wide perspective, you know. And then it's about collaborating to choose which angle and how you portray the character from the beginning, and also like show what is for me more important to the development of the character, not just how he is. He is in a certain way. He has a problem, and how does he face the problem, you know? So this is like the story, and the story needs to be told in order that the viewer can like relate to it, you know?
Yes.
And that's the decisions you need to make. And then the perspective, well, it depends. It's a collaborating process. If it's female, it depends on the story. It can be different, but it's like a life experience. Everybody has his own experience in life, and one same thing you can experience in a lot of different ways. And that's the same with the story. You can tell it one way or the other. So it depends on the collaboration process of everybody involved, how they want to tell the story. So that's, I think, is, yeah.
So, but that means, listen to what you're saying now, it depends also on the experiences of the people that are telling the story. Does that also imply that, if I have a closed worldview, that could slip into the way I tell a story? If I have an open worldview, that could slip. Maybe if I have a bias about something, like if I want to portray a character, and I already have in my mind that everybody that does that, a thief looks like this, and the set designer has already created the set like that, the costumes are already made in the stereotype way, and even the director wants it in this maybe kind of stereotype way, and based on my worldview, I do not really see it like that, right? I see it in a different way. Do you, as a cinematographer, have a power to influence that with your lens, or you have to stick to the agreed and collaborative approach from the director or the whole story?
Yeah, in general, I think you don't go behind the director or the rest of the team and say, well, I want to make this movie, and the director wants to make a different movie. Then it's better from the beginning to say it's not my type of movie. I can't do it that way. I mean, you can, when you read the script, you know already what the point of view of the story is. So you can still decide if you don't agree, you can say no, because it's really a collaborative process. And from the script, you need to collaborate and tell what's your approach to the story, while reading the story, what you feel. What images come to your mind, and then collaborate and say, this is what I thought we could do this way or that way, And you can kind of get along, like the director and art director, you can feel if they're on the same boat or in a different boat. If they're on a different boat, you can still see, okay, which boat are they on, and try to tell it this way, That's like the process of collaborating. You need to just give input and listen to the others and find a way that works for all, and it especially works for the story, because the character is it's his development. So he starts from a point, from one point, and then he needs to solve the problem and or succeed or have issues in between, and then it's the struggle that is important. There's where the drama lies.
Yeah, but when is it too late to back out? When you notice that, well, when is there a point of no return?
Yeah, I mean, basically, what I learned with the experience, if you read a script and you feel you're not the one, or you can't really understand or relate to it, then maybe it's better not to, say yes to the story. That's what I feel from the beginning on. Once you say yes and this collaboration process starts, there's
you have to follow through.
Well, kind of. I mean, it depends on the project, what production is behind, and what's your stake and how you came to the project. Also, if you have collaborators you worked before, already how they work or what they like, so you don't have no more what's on their mind. And that's it makes it easier to collaborate if you know people already.
Oh, so that means building your own tribe of the kind of people you work with. Is that something that's done also in cinematography, that you actually you keep the relationship and hope to work with people that you already know and their style?
Yeah, that's it grows. You grow into the industry and you grow with people. And then in the industry, there's a lot of different kind of personalities, which some you get along really well with, some you might be not on the same page. So you just need to find your people, your crew, your directors, your assistants, and so on.
I read that you went to Nigeria.
Hmm.
I'm born in Nigeria, and your first time when you got the information that you're going to be shooting in Nigeria, what was your take? How did you prepare? Did you start watching films, or did you say, no, I'm going to prepare externally without consuming first, I'm going to do my thing? Or how did you feel?
I was excited at the beginning because it was all a long process until I really knew that like I go there. So yeah, I tried to prepare as much as I could from abroad. Like also we had video conferences, we saw locations, this and that. So you got like already an idea where you're going, what it will be like, you know. I went to Lagos, but straight from Lagos I went to the next airport and we went to Jos. So we were shooting there. It was really exciting. I was like I met the producer. The producer, we're talking a lot. He is also like, he liked cinema a lot. So it was really interesting experiment, like experience to to have the adventure to shoot in Nigeria.
Let's go to experiment. I hear you like experimental movies. So tell me a bit about what this experimental kind of films or short films are. How are they made? Why is it experimental?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, experimental is a genre, like how you have adventure films or drama films. But like really, I mean, they existed, not really since the beginning of cinema, but like, it was like the first wave of a new influence, you know, in a sense of a new like avant-garde, which is like, you know, when you have established certain way to of storytelling in cinema. There's people that say, oof, this is too classic, to do something different, you know. So this is what experimental cinema is about. So they experiment with paintings, with all different kind of arts, which is a mix of film and like experimental forms of visual
Storytelling.
Yeah, narration. That's the thing. Like, it's not so narrative. So the goal sometimes. I mean, it's not. I can't really talk of all experimental films, but there's films that like they paint on film. You know, they draw on film. And there's a lot of interesting things which they use nowadays also in narratives or like in commercials. It's just like they use it as an element of a narrative element. You know. So for me, it's an interesting genre because you can see like a lot of very amazing stuff which was made like in the early 30s, 20s. It was really from the beginning on, you know. So, and there's really crazy stuff that they did. So I like also to kind of experiment. I shoot also on film, so and I hand develop, and then you can like do a lot of post processes with the developed film. What you get out of it is really, really interesting because sometimes like, you have an error, you don't know why, but it looks great, you know. So,
and do you think this process opens you up to more creativity?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a creative process, which means a lot of things can happen in the process. There's an initial goal, and then how it turns out can be as you were thinking at the beginning or something completely different. So
when it comes to building up a career, how do you go about building up a career as a cinematographer? It's a kind of entrepreneurship, and we have lots of young people like studying videography. Right now, you could tell me what's the difference between a videographer and a DOP cinematographer. Well, what's that difference there?
I mean, it depends really. If nowadays, like the specifications blend together. You know, it depends what you do. If you do narrative, if you do commercials. Some videographers, they go into commercials and then they can either direct or either DOP the project. I think that if you do narrative, the approach is really different because because as a filmmaker, you think maybe you're a small team, you know, you can't like really, well, usually you're by yourself or like 3, 4, 5 people, you know. So it's a different approach to work because if you have if you're a DOP and have a bigger project and you have a grip and like art department, you need to communicate. You need to communicate beforehand. For example, the set, the size of the set you need, like the distances, you need to calculate a lot about light, how you light the space, you know, and you need to know it beforehand because it's all planning. So once you go shooting, it's just like doing what you've planned already, you know what I mean? So it's not, there's no like room for trying out. There's also no time. So the thing is, you need to know it beforehand. And as a filmographer, as I understand it, you have a small team, you know. So you can still shoot smaller projects like you do, you know. But for me, well, light-wise and stuff, you need to plan ahead. So that's like what I feel is different.
Yeah. And how do you build your business then? Like, how do you build your career as a DOP? Well, what do you need to do to build? Because I see you have a website and, you know, you do a bit of, do you do networking or you just let your work speak for you?
No, I mean, well, I studied and I made like collaborators before, like I have had collaborators before and after doing the study. And that's what you have to do. You need to experiment or to try out with different collaborators, directors, as if you're a cinematographer, and make projects, you know, and try to shoot as much as you can, and like that's how you gain your experience, and that's how you gain your portfolio, and that's how you gain also your collaborators, which you can collaborate again if everything works well, you know.
So building a portfolio it's important.
Yeah, the portfolio and also like the connections with people. I'm not sure what's more important.
Okay.
I think people is more important. Yeah.
People is more important. Yeah, and then looking at the new technology that is coming up now, like coming back from the experimental film or of filmmaking, where you can use different mediums now to narrate certain elements in the story. What's your take on virtual reality, gaming environment, and AI? Like you could actually just generate some images based on your imaginations and mixing that, manipulating that into film. What's your take on all of this? Is this still experimental?
Well, it depends. I just recently I saw a film, The Congress, which was in the 90s, and it was talking about like scanning actors and like going into a new world, which is in feelings, and like you don't live in the real world, you live just in your mind. And it was really interesting. Like new technology, you have to keep up to date. That's what you need to do. But AI, obviously, it will make a lot of things easier. But also, it will. Well, what it will bring, we don't know yet. But it's always good to like, to keep up to date and like try out what you can do with the technology. I mean, there's a lot of things that can work, but better than others. So you have to kind of see what or how you can enhance your stories and how it can work for you. So I think that's you just need to keep experimenting also with what's on ground or what's around you.
Yeah, are you worried that like the new younger generation coming up now that are really born in this age of the digital age, like the Gen Z and the new generation, are you worried that because of how cheap equipment are, we're not shooting on film anymore, and because of also how the technology is evolving, very low cost equipment and techniques can give you good quality products right now and films. And do you even need to catch up with the new generation, or you just follow your path of telling stories, or how do you see it? Is it a collaborative, or is that a threat to the old way of telling stories?
No, I mean, it's like the antique Greeks told stories, and we still use certain techniques of them, you know. So it's
Yeah.
not that like, but we always reinvent and make it look fresh or new. So you always have to keep up with what is on the market, you know, and how other people tell stories and how people view stories, you know, or how they want to look at stories. I mean,
So the
or
audience, the demand, the audience, what the audience wants also
yeah,
determines.
yeah, sure, because there's a market and there's producers, they want to produce, they want to sell
Yeah.
the film. So you always need to be up to date. But like, if you say like equipment is cheap, which is, I think it's a good thing because then you can like maybe produce cheaper, maybe, you know, there's a lot of options that you can tell the story differently. Like there's cameras is smaller, you can even shoot with an iPhone, you know. So the thing is, you can like get perspective that you couldn't do before because the equipment was much bigger, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how in the avant-garde, in the French avant-garde, like got the small cameras because the cameras got smaller, so they didn't need to shoot on 35 but on 16, which was much more lighter. So they could do different yeah, movements, camera movements, be with the people, run after them. You know, it was easier. So that's what they did, and that's what's happening now too. But then again, like this, the way how to tell a story is still not much different from it like it was in the antique Greeks. You know how you build up a story. Then like there's rules which you can follow or you can't, but at least you need to know the rules
Mm.
to know what you're doing and to be conscious. Or yeah, to when you want to not use a rule or like yeah.
Yeah. So how do you see the European film industry compared to the African film industry in terms of commonalities? What do you think it's similar and what do you think it's different?
Well, I think European is also like a bit wide. I mean, it's like, well, at least my experience with storytelling in Nigeria is more like the stories for the people or for the local people. They're different. They're told in a different manner because there's much more. The beliefs are different. Like, you know, there needs to be enchantment and stuff, which in European cinema maybe you would like need to prepare different.
Yeah.
In terms of like shot size, how you prepare a certain effect, which you know is like when you like in Africa or in Nigeria, when you see somebody doing magical tricks, it's completely clear, you know. And in Europe, I think if you talk to an audience, you need to tell them differently and prepare them for what exactly are they doing and why do they have these powers, you know.
Okay, because of the understanding. But if you look at
Yeah.
superhero films and they have these powers, we just assume they have these powers.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I haven't done a superhero film in Nigeria, so I don't know. It
Okay.
was drama. It was dramas, but like there was, yeah, the solution to certain things were like, yeah, magical tricks. And this is like just different how people perceive it, you know.
Yeah.
It's one thing. I mean, other things is like in terms of production also it's probably it's a bit more, you need to be prepared for more things that they don't turn out the way you want, you know, like your crew, for example, if you shoot in Lagos, can't arrive on time because the traffic and this and that. Like there's a lot of issues you need to face day to day of shooting, which in Europe it's more prepared, you know, so it's like more thought beforehand. So that's, I think, is maybe one of the main differences, yeah.
Okay, okay. And does that affect you as a cinematographer? Because, well, you have the production manager, you have the producers, you have assistants taking care of that problem. But how does that really affect you as the DOP?
Yeah, well, that's yeah, because usually, like when I'm shooting in Europe on projects, like there is the production that backs you from, you know,
Yeah,
certain
okay.
things, organization and stuff. If you like rent a generator, it works. The frequency it should work, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas if you rented in Lagos, at least I was in projects, we rented a generator which didn't or either didn't work or did work, but in the wrong frequency. So our lights, HMI lights were flickering. but we didn't know until we were shooting already, you know.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
this is like you need to think much more of like organizational stuff, or if you want to have an extra light for a certain day because you shoot interiors and you need a lot of HMI lights, but just this day, so to keep the price low, you just order it for this day you need it, and for the other days you don't have it to carry it along. So, but it's like to organize it in Lagos to get the lamp to your shooting on the day of shoot is like it doesn't work.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So you need to think about it. It doesn't work. Or if you want to have the lights there, you need to think how to organize it so you have it the day you need it on set. You know. Whereas
Okay.
in Europe, it's just like you tell the producer and he does the rest. You know.
Yes.
It's like not a big deal about it. You know. It's just like organizing.
Yeah, okay. So of course Europe has had a long tradition and history, right, in production. So the thing there is, how do you, what was your takeaway? What were the lessons and positive moments that you take away from your experience shooting outside what you know? Like, you know, you were schooled in Europe, you shoot here, then going to places like Nigeria, for example. What did you learn from that?
Well, basically, you need to like try to find be resolutive. You know, try to look at your surroundings, look at like how people have the lights in their houses. You know, like just use light in a natural way. And be resolutive. If you, for example, go to shoot the place in the interior, which you didn't see before, and you maybe have windows, there's daylight coming in, but you can't really access the windows, so you can't really block them or like, you know, influence them, but they're still there in shot. So you need to think and be resolutive how you can like solve the problem.
This is something I've been also personally thinking about, like, because of the stories and the way the stories have been told about Africa or different African nations. For example, even hundreds or 200 years ago, you when you had the photography and the way the people are photographed, of course, if maybe someone from that tribe did the photography, it will tell another story than if someone else from outside did the photography without understanding the context of how the people are living. Do you get? You know, so you can use the lens, be it recording or still, you can use the lens to either degrade or enhance a specific scenario. So there is this debate about now moving forward, how should stories be told? Should the key positions in the narrative, like the director, the screenwriter, the DOP, should these positions be more from inside, from the tribe? Or is it okay to also get, you know, to get someone external, just as like if you want to shoot in Nigeria, use Nigerian people for the key positions. Don't import someone from South Africa. Don't get someone from Europe, because you will get something different. Or do you see it like it should be a collaborative process? Because on the other side, then you ask how many people come from Nigeria to shoot in Europe for the European market, you know? So how do you, what's your relationship to this thought?
I think, I mean, that's what's happening in the last few years, at least what I've seen, that they always try to kind of to teach or train people, you know, like there's like schools, but like the schools might not be as effective as they could be, because like on ground there's a lot of issues, you know, there's schools, they have material, but they don't have film, they can't, you know, there's a lot of things they don't release the equipment that they should, so like the students can't study, so like there's a lot of issues always on ground. And as far as I know, there's people training people, but there's no really like, or a working film school. At least I haven't heard of a working film school apart from in Jos, but like so that's always the idea to train it. But like what I experienced from local cinematographers, they start up as a cinematographer, which is maybe different as a cinematographer that we understand that understands about narrative, understands about technique. You know, there's people that learn and they know the technique as to a certain extent, but they don't know it throughout wholly. You know, so the training process is an important one in order to like bring up the industry in Nigeria. The only thing it's a process because sometimes, or a lot of times, it works that like you train people and they work for a month, maybe for a year as a cinematographer. Then they do grip, then they do producer. They jump around a lot. There's not the specialization.
Is it good for their development, or do you think it's better to stick to, like, if you're training as a cinematographer, then you have to do it for a longer time?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, as always, if you like work in a bank, but next day you work on the construction site and the next day you work somewhere else, you never get into the real,
So it's a
work related.
resources. It's
Yeah.
an issue of resources, because I understand that these people will need to earn income. So if the cinematography job is not coming in very often, then of course they will take a job as a gaffer, or as an assistant, or maybe just jump to sound or set design. So, but will that actually imply that there is a lot more flexibility?
Yeah, there's flexibility, but it's a good and it's bad because because at least as I learned it, there's no
Deep skill.
deep skill. Yeah, that you like people don't see a specialization as a good thing.
Oh, okay.
They see, well, I work in the industry and I need to work in the industry. They don't say necessarily like I do produce a film today, tomorrow I'm the DOP, the next day I'm grip, and yeah, sure, you can do everything, but not really really. You don't have a deep knowledge about it, So then you do everything, but like not.
Yeah. So having to be very good at your craft or in your craft,
Yeah.
you need to spend time, invest time to learn a whole lot and on understand and deep knowledge about it. That's what I'm hearing from you. Like a DOP needs to invest time in learning the creative process, the technical process, and how to match this and understand
Yeah. Yeah, and also train your eyes, you need to watch a lot of films, you need to like see, once you see an image, you need to see colors, you need to see all the issues that might occur, and it's just about training, and sometimes if you don't train or if you don't watch, I mean, I've studied and I learned a lot while I was studying too. But also it's not necessary in life. You can like watch the sun, you can watch the shadows, the light, but you need to see them. So that's like a lot of training, I feel, and like this as a specialization, you need to really like look at it and spend time.
So being in the moment also is a way of training yourself as a cinematographer, like being in the moment for like you said, the sun, really understanding, like from, I don't know, from 25 minutes before the sun sets to when it sets, seeing that process, seeing the different colors and how the movements are, very subtle things like that, or seeing how a frog jumps, and at these, like every day, because if you can't afford to watch films, for several reasons, right? So at these areas of practices, you can say that's how you can also train yourself, or there are other ways.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different ways, but like first of all, you need to have people that like really say, okay, like we were talking before, you need to know what you want to do really. If you're in the process of searching, it's also good and you can train people. But if they're searching and at the end they decide to do grip tomorrow and the next day they do producing, and the next day maybe they just like go with the flow, which I can understand because sometimes like things, problems, issues can occur.
Yeah.
I just see that like the specialization is not at least the mindset is not, they don't see it as like I'm doing the same thing all the time and it's good because I get better. I don't see that. I see just like
So a
I get
mindset
stuck.
shift.
Yeah, I feel it's like more I get stuck in something because I only do the same only one thing, you know, or I get bored. I don't know what it is really is.
Okay, okay. I get you. So
But
now, are you open to training people? Do you train people?
well, there were a few intent to train people, but it never really like me personally. I never got the chance to do so. But there is people training. I don't know about people that do train cinematographers because in Nigeria, that's the thing. The industry just works. So people just shoot, they do this, they do that.
I like to hear that when you say
Yeah,
the industry just works. So it means
that's
that
my feeling.
yeah, yeah, it does work. So it means that there are a different approach to creating films, right? What advice would you give to young DOPs that want to, handle the camera? What would you tell them?
Well, I would say like it really like yeah, don't be scared. Yeah, have like ideas, your own ideas. Don't be scared of have your own ideas. Try to focus on what you feel you're good at, you know. And yeah, find people to collaborate that have the same vision, maybe or similar vision to kind of yeah experiment in this field and yeah have the creativity or like yeah to go for something new and just yeah be yeah don't be scared.
Thank you. And share your favorite quote on resilience.
There's one which I liked. So it's like where there's no struggle, there's no strength.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Where there's no struggle, there's no strength.
Because I think you always have to try to kind of stand up again. You know, it's like there's not something that like can be big enough to bring you down. So right, it can bring you down, but you have to get up again. You know, so yeah,
Yes,
that's what I feel.
yes. And how do you deal with struggle?
Well, I try to be positive and try to be resolutive and get something, yeah, solution to it. That's what I try.
Okay. And now we're going to go to the 3 closing questions, which you should answer with like a word or a phrase. But if your answer might ignite me to go deeper, so let's go. Name one bold move you have made, something that you were so scared of, but you found the courage to do it.
It's on a lake in Oberösterreich.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really I don't remember the name, but I remember the sensation I had when I looked up at the night before. It was like this deep, you know. And I was looking up, and it was with friends, and we were saying that like maybe we go up without rope. And I was thinking like Jesus, like I will die. So yeah, anyway, I didn't sleep much, but
You didn't sleep because you were worried,
I
or
was worried. Yeah, I was worried, but like when it was with my friends, they knew what to do, and like I was just worried. So the next day we got up like at really early in the morning with headlights and stuff, and we went up. And like I was like yeah, I had courage, and I had like yeah, I had the feeling something will come, you know, but like it never really got scary in this sense, you know. I mean, it got scary because it went down. It got like you went
why
up
didn't
like
you just sleep? Why didn't you just tell your friends, no, I'm not going. I'll just wait for you.
because it's I knew kind of it's not really it's just in my mind, you know. It's not a real it's a fear, but it's nothing that like I need to be afraid of, you know. So that's like a really well I just went for it and like it was good. I enjoyed a lot at the end.
Okay, and when you got to the top, how did you feel?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, there's a thing that you have to like a bell you have to ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just ring the bell. Like yeah, it felt good. It was good. We went up there like 8 hours, I think. Yeah.
Climbing up.
Well, between walking and climbing, I mean, we
Okay.
had rope with us, but we didn't use it.
Yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah.
done some. I've done one like this on the Schneeberg, the
Mm-hmm.
snow mountain. I think that's in Lower Austria.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's not like so high. It's just about 2,500 meters. And
Okay.
yeah, but that was like the first time. I think
Mm-hmm.
that was too high for me at the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was scared. I was very scared. Yeah, when I got to the top, it's you have this feeling of freedom and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but you have to come down, right? That
Yeah.
was. And tell me, so having spent this amount of years on Earth and on the mountain, share one of the most valuable lessons you have learned from your experiences so far.
Well, trust your gut feelings and accept yourself, I would say. Yeah.
Wow. Now you've used that word gut feelings 3 times. Now I need to know how you feel that. There are people that sometimes you might not be in touch with your gut feelings. I've had a moment in my life where so many things were happening and I just didn't have the time, or I didn't even feel myself to know what my intuition is saying, right? So
Mm.
don't you think there has to be a skill somehow so that you can listen to what your mind is telling you or your gut feelings is telling you? How do you just trust your gut feeling? How do you listen to it? Do you have your own technique?
Well, not really, but you just need to listen. I mean, it's like if you're under pressure and you need to trust your gut feeling, maybe you just need to have a moment where you or either talk about it, if you have issues in the film, you talk about it, you're not sure about this and that,
Yeah.
and you discuss, and then you kind of feel the general vibe, and then you know what's the right decision, I think. So it's, talk about it also, I think, and listen to yourself and also share it.
Okay,
But
so taking a break to have a moment, then talking about it helps you to open up to listen to yourself. And now we have the last question. If at this moment you had all the tools and resources to do anything you desired, what would you
that sounds good.
do?
If it would be like that, it would be great. Yeah, but
Yes, you had everything to do what you desired. You woke up tomorrow and you had everything, the tools and resources. What would you do?
well, I would probably do the same thing as I do now, shooting films, but maybe with like more creative freedom and like stories that needs to be told, I think.
What stories needs to be told?
Well, there's a lot of stories. I mean, it depends on, point of view. It depends on the moment, and on the resources and the characters you have, So, but yeah, I feel cinema is like there also because it influences people. I mean, I've grown up with cinema, and it like people stuck to my heart and to my head because of something, because they touched me in a certain way. So I think that's also our goal, that we should like also make movies that like really touch somebody, which means you tell stories that like or you lift it from a personal perspective and you want to share it, even if it's not for mainstream,
Yeah.
But that's for me the most important stories, because that's like how you felt it, and that's how it feels real.
Okay.
Whereas if you just tell any story from a different point of view, or from a far point of view, a far story that you never have lived closely, then how you tell a story is different.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing. And
Thanks, you're welcome.
yes, as we move and launch this podcast, and I hope to get you back here like in a couple of months, years time, seeing all the stories that you've told. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for being part of this.
Yes. So that was Bold with Joe, and my guest is Peter Kreil.